When I return, I'm going to beg someone to touch me very tenderly. When I return, I'm going to beg someone to touch me very tenderly.
He said, Dion, we won't shoot you. We'll just hit you until you die. We won't stop the next time.
Then they said, undress. I took off my dress. And they tied me, my hands behind my legs, and they put a dirty cloth in my mouth. I was blindfolded, and the beating started.
The names of the people who were innocent were forced from me. And then I was forced to say that these people collaborated with me, and they were also enemy agents with me.
I have still room in myself for proper reconciliation, provided I am cleared and SWAPO openly acknowledges the wrongs it has done, and SWAPO accounts for the deeds it has done in Angola.
In 1989, the United Nations supervised the return to peace and democracy in Namibia. SWAPO, the Southwest Africa People's Organization, which had led the resistance to South African occupation, was allowed to operate in Namibia. The freedom fighters and exiles came home. With them came some of SWAPO's prisoners, Namibians who had joined the struggle but were detained and tortured by SWAPO and labeled as spies. Almost 2,000 of them disappeared. Many died in SWAPO's dungeons. This is the story of 4 Namibians who went into exile to fight for Namibia's liberation and are still fighting for truth and reconciliation with SWAPO, Namibia's ruling party. The Breaking the Wall of Silence movement has sought reconciliation with SWAPO on behalf of the missing and the survivors. But Namibia's ruling party has never made a public statement about the issue. For the survivors of the dungeons, reconciliation must be based on truth and justice.
If you don't open the can of worms, what will you see? You'll never see reconciliation there. You'll never see peace there. You'll never see the truth there. Because the worms is the truth SWAPO is hiding, is the pain of the people they are hiding. It's every dirty thing of them hidden in there, and they should open that so that it can come out.
Sam Thomas, trained as a teacher, then joined the waves of strikes to protest against apartheid. His journey into exile began in 1978.
One day, on the 5th of July, we, a group of 3-4 men, came together and we said, okay, how is it possible that we are staying here while the other people are fighting on the other side? Let us also go and have part in the fighting against the South African government.
Ben Kavisep joined in the school strikes to protest against South African soldiers in the classrooms before joining the liberation struggle.
Arriving in Lusaka, we were welcomed by Moses Karweb and then by the president of SWAPO, Sam Nujoma. And he praised us for the brave decision we have taken by joining the SWAPO party, SWAPO movement. We then thought that really we have really taken a very good decision which would then single us out as Namibians that have take such a step towards joining the then so-called terrorist organization.
Pauline Dembers, SWAPO activist, beaten by South African forces at the SWAPO rally before going into exile.
I left to exile in March, 31st of March, 83. I left with a group of, we were eight in the group. I was the only lady in this group. It was my fiancé, Franz Taster, Jonathan Friedrichs, Ferdinand Wetboy, Barnabas Bam, Erud Ochroep, Gerson Kausep, me, Onesmus Heda. So it's only 3 people who arrived home after exile. The 5 were detained and listed under the missing.
Dion Wachi, driver and confidant of Toivo Toivo, founding father of SWAPO. Dion fled Namibia with his family to fight for liberation.
When we came there, things will now start getting funny for me. I was taken with my son separately, my wife with Sharifa separately. They were searched, body searched, the luggage was packed out, and toothpaste, they should taste, all those type of things. And my wife also became suspicious, and she was asking them, what the hell is going on? Why are you doing this to us? No, it's just for SWAPO safety, because people are infiltrating SWAPO. They bring things and smear it onto people. People are dying, and ladies are coming with blades in SWAPO, in their vaginas and all those things. And she felt very uncomfortable. I mean, it's maybe the first time in her life for her to be body searched like that. And me myself. But then on the other hand, I thought it's the safest way to protect us from these infiltrators also. Then I told her, no, you just relax. You know we didn't do anything wrong. So let them proceed. Maybe it will come to an end, I told her.
2 men were taken away from us. That was my fiancé and Jonathan Friedrichs. Franz Taster was my fiancé. The explanation was that they were taken to a emergency training, and we proceeded to the military training.
On her 21st birthday, Pauline was called in for an interview at the camp.
I heard an alarm going off of the watch, and this was my watch that was carried by my fiancé. He had this watch on. And what makes me more 100% sure was that the looks of these 2 men who were interviewing me, that they look at each other and then immediately they said, I must leave. Then I said, where is my fiancé? He said, leave. We told you that he is to the emergency training. So I left. And on my way, I saw his underwear and face towel and things. And I returned to the office. I said, you said this person is to the training, emergency training. I have seen his underwear here. And the watch, the alarm that went off, that's my watch. When they said, if you don't want trouble, leave. I left in tears. There was nothing I could do.
When people started telling me that innocent people are just disappearing, is when I thought that really there are bad things in SWAPO. I mean, they cannot just detain people. And for me, myself, I know that I did nothing wrong. I'm also a suspect. But I'm also eager to get done with this training. So there in Adawa, you get the basic training. You are shown how to handle the AK, all those basic things we were trained. And yeah, within the next 3 months, you are going to Anyeko with the next group. 3 months came, none. 6 months, none. So I started questioning again. You were not allowed to move freely and those things because the Boers can attack us anytime and all those type of things. But of late, I became suspicious. And you know, as you are also there in the group, amongst yourself, there are also those who are spying on you, and you're becoming friends with some, and they are telling you that, listen, we are sort of suspects here. And I said, what, suspects? Yeah, we are suspects here, and it's not easy. As long as you are here, you are a bit safe, but in Anyako you might get detained very quickly. So I became worried.
Ben did not fall under suspicion at first. He completed his training and was sent on a reconnaissance mission inside Namibia to prepare for an attack on a South African base.
I stayed in Ovamboland then for maybe 2 to 3 months. I was only having a hand grenade and a pistol, which could not have been easily detected. I stayed and then I came back and gave a detailed report on the camp, and then this base was attacked. After the base was attacked, I was then called to the head office. I was then thanked for the job well done, and I was told that I will be sent to Bulgaria for further studies.
Ben returned to base in Angola, where others who had taken up the cause of freedom were no longer free to move.
9 o'clock in the morning, I was tied on my back, my hands tied on my back, my feet tied, and I was lying on the stomach. 6 o'clock, from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, when we came at a place, at one of the houses which does not have the roof. There we slept that evening. I slept like that. When they were bringing food, they didn't even, that handcuffs that they made, they didn't even untie me. I was lying like that.
There were 2 cars, and then we're taking now, and they drove past our village, our camp. And I said, but where are we going? He said, no, we are just going to pick up some liquor here. I said, fine. And when we arrived there, they called my friend Rachel, and Camilo was on the other car. So I was sitting there, and I was now wondering, why is it taking so long? But then I thought, as it was the undeclared system in SWAPO, that whenever you are given something or whenever you are with these people, maybe I thought that this alcohol that they are going to collect, we are maybe going to drink together, but then in exchange of something, sex, of course. And we used to survive very in difficult times.
Suddenly, the 10th of September, you see, just became sunset. So I was still with my AK. I just came from duty and I was on my AK and the pistol sitting there in the dugout. I was so tired, and a messenger came there that day. Just as it became dark, yeah, Commander Dion, you are needed. I said, oh, it's a mission. Yeah. Where? Dola. Dola was a church office. So I thought, what did I do wrong now to go to Dola? Because most of the guys went to Dola and they got punished there. But in any case, you should pack your things. So you just had your bag with your uniforms. I packed my things. Now, one thing to my advantage was, by then they didn't know that I could speak or understand Oshiwambo. And because I became suspicious about them taking me as a suspect, I didn't want them to know that I could speak Oshiwambo, because I would like to learn the truth, the whole story, what is going on in SWAPO.
I could hear later that Rachel was talking loud in the bush, and I was wondering, and until I heard, that she's saying that I'm not an enemy agent. And that's when I asked the person that was sitting next to me, what's happening? Why are we here? Then I was told to shut up. People that I was talking very nicely to just few minutes ago. So I shut up.
When I arrived at Dola, we walked up to there, and as I came in, it is also a dugout. One was standing there and he said, Flesh, it was my combat name. He said, Flesh, can you give me your gun? I pulled back, I said, no, why you want my gun? And he told the other one in Yoshiwambo, Keshishi, it means he doesn't know. And he said, okay, but you can never sit here. So I took my bag and I sat on my back. I had my AK between my legs. The pistol was also here, between my legs. And I was getting suspicious why he wants my gun. So I asked him, why did you want my gun? Are you not trained? I asked him. He said, I'm trained. I said, now what do you want to do with my gun? You know, as we got trained, there's one thing you never surrender is your gun, I told him. So I'm not going to surrender my gun. Whatever your things are here, but not even the president will get this gun from me. This gun is to free my country. So I'm not surrendering with it, I'm dying with it, I told him. So he was just laughing and he told the other one, Otamonoik, you will see, it means in Oshiwambo.
They told me that, asked me first that why I am at the screening board. I said, I don't know. I was just brought here. No one told me anything, so I don't know. Okay, we just brought you here to find out a certain few things. And these few things are not difficult. I must only tell them my autobiography, where I was born, where I started all, where I started my activities in Namibia, which I did. But after I gave them my background information, funny questions were now raised. When, where, and how. I could not first understand what these questions are for. Then they explained to me that the enemy has infiltrated the SWAPO and you are one of those spies.
There was a hole and there was a tree in the hole, in the middle, which was on top, it had a fork like this. So they ordered me in. It was not that deep, it's about 3 steps down. And they said I must sit there. So while I was sitting, about 5 guys came.
They started now stopping a cloth in my mouth and I was tied behind, and I was told, we have tried to use peaceful means to divulge information from you, but seems you are not cooperating. So SWAPO has got many faces. Should we fail this way, then we'll turn the other side of the face.
It was moonlight that evening. This early morning hours, the moon came up. Can you tell us about yourself? He asked me. Then I started now where I was born. So I didn't went even a quarter of that. Then they said, no. You forget to tell us something. I said, but I'm not through yet. How could I forget? They said, no. Tell us the important thing. Don't tell us these stories of yours. Tell us you forgot that something. I said, what is it? I'm not finished. If I'm through, then you can say, I forgot this and that. They said, no. Why are you here in SWAPO, here in Angola? I said, I came to join the struggle for liberation, to fight for liberation of our country. No, man. Who sent you here? I said, no one sent me. I came out of myself. No. Where are you trained? I said, in Anyego. They said, don't play around. Now the sticks started falling next to me. In bundles, I saw the sticks.
They started beating me with sticks until I fainted. I became conscious. And then, when I recovered, Kawaya came and told me that, look, you are going to die if you not come up with the truth. We are still giving you one more chance. Rest will be coming back. We give you time to think all over so that you can come up with the truth. Because you are not the only one. Your colleagues, people you know, also have revealed themselves and they have been pardoned. So why should you put yourself in such an awkward position? And then the more he talks, the more I get confused. I then was now recalling my childhood. I was now as if viewing a video. All the contributions, all the things I made were now playing back. And I was now asking myself, maybe I have done something wrong which I don't know. Maybe I am to blame. But the more this thing questions comes up, the more I frustrated become. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. That day I asked for little water. I was told, go and ask the boss who sent you over. I said, please, please, just a drop in my mouth. They were laughing at me.
I was taken in this room, and this room that I was taken into, was, you could see as you were entering that people were tortured there. You could see blood and pieces of sticks full of blood and some human hair. It was an awful place. And that's where everything worsened, including the torture. I was asked to dig a hole in this dugout, and then I was buried there. What I think happened to some of these people, some people that died there, is the suffocation of this scent, because they are like taking your head inside, and then, after some time, remove you from there and all these type of things. But the beating was so severe that I could, sense that these people mean what they are saying, that they can kill and they will report to the president that they killed a spy.
And then I was not put in a dungeon. It's where I found many of my colleagues like Amos Hartley, Jake Smith, Mia Gaumap, and many more. I then stayed there. During my stay, I was briefed by my colleagues. I was told that should you not compromise, should you die, who is going to talk on your behalf? It's better to compromise, play along, so that at least you win time. And then one day, if you reach alive Namibia, then you will be able to communicate your hardships and problems to the people of Namibia.
The dungeon was opened, and the ladder was thrown in, and make space for these dogs. So it was 2 guys who was brought in. These guys, they spoke Afrikaans when they came in, and I was so happy again. I said, but where are you from now? He said, we were your neighbors, the next prison. We called it Buana's base, he said, and we tried to escape, but they caught us. So it's how they brought us here. They first beated us up now, because we cannot bear it anymore. I wanted to go to Namibia and convince the people that SWAPO is denying he's keeping people in the dungeons. That's what our intention was. But the beating will start tomorrow, he said, I'm sure. And for you, he said, what they ask, you must give them. Then I said, Ben, what must I give them? He said, try to build a story out of their questions. I said, now give me an example. He said, for instance, If they are going to start beating you again, and you said you'll talk, they'll immediately stop. And if they are asking you, where were you trained? Think of something anywhere in Namibia where you were trained. I said, but it's not the truth. He said, it's your survival.
From here, there was 2 lines of blood streaming from my body. So they were beating me the whole day. A bundle of sticks finished on me. Later I said, okay, you forced me to say that I am an agent. I said, you don't say that we force you. You are an enemy agent, and you should say you are an enemy agent, and you start writing now the statements. So I started, and then the next morning, it was late, the next morning I continued from there. That's how I landed in those dungeons.
It was now Shimwandi who was the chief of intelligence in Anyeko. And Nambuli, Fox, they were now sitting there. They said, yeah, you don't want to talk. If you don't want to talk, we've just got one order. It's just to kill you here, right here. So if you're not going to talk, we'll kill you. He said, Dion, where were you trained? Then I thought about Ben. I said, I was trained in Auspanplatz in Windhoek. He said, you see, we know there's a training base. Why did you allow us to beat you like that? If you could have told us long time, we wouldn't have beaten you up like that. Then I saw the trick now. I said, oh, this is what Ben meant. He said, who sent you here? I said, it's Captain Coffee of the security branch in Windhoek. He said, you see, we know all these things.
So it's then and there that I said I was an enemy agent, and that I said that I will talk actually. And I said that I was trained in the Lalapansi flats. There was one of them who knew these flats and was saying that I'm telling a lie. That's a civilian flat for ordinary people, I mean civilians. And I said, no, upstairs, that's where the military training is taking place, which was not true. But I said it, they believed it. And Makoba continued then to write my statement.
He said, Dion, we know everything. I want you to rest a few days. Then you come and we will write down your statement. These things you are telling me now. Then I saw it's not the truth, so I should just play along. At least it will save my life. At least maybe in life I'll get another chance to reunite with my family. I think I'll have to play along with their cards. So that day he gave me cigarettes and I was getting nice meat and pop. And I thought, oh, it's true what Ben said. So they gave me a couple of cigarettes and I went back to the dungeon.
It was just a hole that was dig in the ground and then covered with some, with a roof. And the ventilation holes that they had, I don't know, it was again covered with a brick. A very big brick was again placed in there. So there was actually no ventilation unless if they maybe open the roof on top for some time.
I was one of the very sickly people there in the dungeons. It so happened that Berry caught me once so badly that that between all the joints there were lumps that made that I couldn't even move. If I say feeling like going to the toilet, I've just fell down, and I feel after unconscious, I was falling down. I fell down, and then At times I'm hearing people next to me sitting, calling me. And then at that time I regain again my conscious.
And guys were just passing away. And for instance, like Matthew Kangotwe, his appendix burst. And we used to call Johnny and Nakale, they were the doctors there, to come and help the guy. And what he did, he just threw maybe 2 anodins or painkillers in there to the guy. So the third day, the guy couldn't bear it anymore. And we were now sitting in the dungeon, and he was now crying because he liked me a lot. And he was now lying on my legs. As I comforted him, I said, my friend, don't worry, things will come all right. And then Nakale, we called again Nakale, and he just threw also again 2 disperants in. And we didn't know by then that the appendix burst already. So we gave him the disperants. And then Aaron, he also passed away, Wadewa. He asked Kangotwe, as Kangotwe was lying on my legs, he said, oh, why don't you want to drink the taps? Are you afraid to die? Then that young boy said, I know I'm going to die. But D, please, if you go back, tell my family that I died here and tell them the truth why I died here in the dungeons. So as I also saw to myself that the boy is really very, very ill, full of pain. And as I was talking with him, so I just saw the yellow stuff coming out of his mouth, and some foam came out, and that is how he passed away in my hands.
I have seen people carried out. I don't remember anymore their names because most of them had this combat names, and I don't remember even the combat names. Most of them died. I have seen them. There was on one occasion a person who is not helping himself, a dead person. His body is very heavy. And then we were very weak, all of us. And they told us to carry out this body, give them through the roof. And as we were taking him out, that man, from the blanket in which we were carrying him, through that blanket, the man fell through and fell on the floor, on the ground.
One thing that really was painful for me in that process was what I was going through. I mean, people that I thought were my comrades, people that I could relate to more, people that I associated myself with, were doing this. I did not experience that with the South African regime. They oppressed us, it's true. They did horrible things, it's true. But I can tell, and I will say until somebody proved me wrong, what SWAPO did to me and to others was terrible. I mean, South Africa is a complete stranger. They came to oppress, they came to rob us from our wealth, they took our land. It's true, they did that, and it caused loss of lives. People were detained and all this, but I will say until I'm proven wrong with facts that SWAPO was more horrible to its own people than the South African oppressors.
The survivors in the dungeon still hoped that their treatment was some sort of error, about which the leadership of SWAPO knew nothing. So when the Chief of Intelligence of the People's Liberation Army came to visit, hopes were raised.
The first visit came from Solomon Awala, who was then the master behind the whole spy drama. he briefly told us that they are prepared to bring the leadership of SWAPO on condition we vow to stick to our statements. And if we will not stick to our statements, then we will bring confusion. And then there we were told to raise hands, those of us who will then stick to the statements we have made, these false statements. We, knowing helplessly, raise our hands that we will stick to our statements, hoping that should the leadership of SWAPO come, we will then reveal the whole situation.
Even the president came to us. The first time, I think, was in 1987. Not all the dungeons people were taken out, some of us, because we were not allowed to see each other. His words was, even when he stood there, he said, yeah, I don't know whether I should call you comrades or fellow countrymen, but I'm here just to tell you that you who betrayed the struggle, who collaborated with the Boers, we will keep you here until Namibia gets independent, and we will take you to Freedom Square in front of Kalahari Sands, is what he meant. Freedom Square in front of Kalahari Sands Hotel there, and we will parade you in front of the people of the nation, and there the nation will decide, and you'll be shot there, is what he told us.
And we told him that we are forced to make confessions, false confessions, and we are forced to implicate people. And, you know, we are now like complaining to him as the head of the organization. What Nyoma said that that we should obey the orders from the commanders. There was one lady who also died in the dungeons, who was apparently his nurse in Luanda. She stepped forward very close to him and asked, what am I doing here? And he said, it's like any other SWAPO camp. And the lady went on and said, I was never barefooted. I never starved in the SWAPO camp, so why am I barefooted here? And why am I starving here? And I'm beaten here. So he insisted it's one of the SWAPO camps. It's like any other SWAPO camp. And off he went. And that's when I, you know, realized that he knew it all.
In April 1989, groups of prisoners were taken from the dungeons.
And then they told us that, no, we are going to be taken somewhere. We are going somewhere. So we lined up and they took us in the bush. Now guys were started gossiping that, this is now for the fire squad, because we were just taken like that. So as we walk up to an open space there, we found Jesus Awala with his guards there. And they paraded us, they let us parade there. And then he explained to us now that, yeah, there's a letter here, and I want one of you to read this letter. So now, Emmanuel Usiku Freedom, because he was so tough, and he didn't care, he said he is prepared to read the letter. So in that letter, they just explained the conditions of SWAPO releasing us now, and how we should behave, and what will be placed into the comrades again, all those things. I cannot remember everything, but those were the conditions. And we were asked whether we agreed, and then we said yes, we agreed.
We were just taken out from the dungeons, and we were told that there are officials to visit, and we were taken to a parade where Moses Karweb came and addressed us. He was then the administrator of SWAPO. He addressed us and he said that the Politburo and the Central Committee of SWAPO has decided to pardon you. And that you will be released and will be repatriated like any other Namibian back home. But provisionally, conditions are that you go and vote for SWAPO and campaign for SWAPO.
Moses Karweb came with the message that we are going to be released, but we are going to carry the stigma, because what we have done to the people of Namibia cannot be forgotten. And should we repeat the same thing, there won't be a second prison for us.
The SWAPO leadership had invited the international press to witness the release of the so-called spies and to show they had been well treated. But with the press in attendance, the prisoners took matters into their own hands.
And suddenly our guys I think it was Amadila, Joe Amadila, he was the first to strip. He said, listen, I'm also tired. I was detained in Zimbabwe and just brought here. I'm not a spy. And do you know what these people did to us? Let me show you. And he stripped and showed them. And the cameras were now rolling. And this guy from France, he said that, please give me a minute. I want to record this directly. And we said, that's what we want.
SWAPO's gulag was international news. Even leaders like Toivo seemed bewildered by what had happened. The prisoners became the responsibility of the United Nations and returned to Namibia to see their families again. For many, it was not a happy reunion.
I did not know anything about my wife, about my child. I was not told anything. I was in darkness. I only happened to know after my arrest that she was arrested too, and my child was given to someone who was just left under the care of someone, eventually which led to her death. So I never was told anything. I was not in a position and I had no right to know the whereabouts of my family. I was not united with my family. I was not briefed. And what I can say shortly is my marriage was destroyed. My child was killed. To this date, my daughter's Pravda's elder brother Bobby is not accounted for. We don't know whether he's alive, where he is at the moment. We don't know.
They were told that I'm in Russia. My wife was told that she shouldn't worry. Letters she wrote letters to Russia, and she never get reply from that. She thought that I was in Russia, and the kids were also told your father is in Russia. And they couldn't believe that I was imprisoned.
My family then, most of them were active SWAPO members. Some only joined SWAPO because I went over to SWAPO. And when I came back, it was difficult. I was labeled, and some even justified my imprisonment, and some even called me names. So at that point in time, I then decided to stay on in Windhoek, because when I found the only person who welcomed me was my sister and my mother, the rest didn't welcome me back.
And we are also, when we came back, like Kangotwi's sister came to me. She came to find out about, when we returned, she came to find out about her brother. So I was the one knowing his story, and amongst us, we knew that, okay, they said, go and ask Odi, he can give you information in connection with the boy. So she came to our house and she introduced me as Matthew Kangotwi's sister, and she asked me whether I know the boy. I said, okay, what I will do, you don't tell me anything about him. I will explain to you and you will from there see whether it is the same person we are talking about. So I said, Matthew was about 18 years when he came in prison. His father is from Botswana. His father is living in Botswana. His mother is living in Namibia. And he was a friend to Dr. Abrams' son, one of his sons. And they used to do break dances, and Matthew had split legs, like left legs, we used to call it. And she said, yes, it's my brother. I said, now, what information do you have before I start? She said, no, Matthew wrote us a letter from exile. And SWAPO people came to deliver the letter. I said, in which year was it? Just before you came, it was in 88. She said, I said, now what did the letter read? She said, no, he was writing and saying that he's in good hands of SWAPO and they should, the sister should send money for him to go and study. And I said, if you could give me that letter, it would be a great pleasure. She said, no, I don't know, the letter is in the family, you know, we are Arab people, we give it because we see that he's still alive and things. So I told her, I said, let me just make it short and sweet with you. I don't want to shock you more than this, that in actual fact Matthew Kangotwi died in my hands. I said, and if there's any proof, or if SWAPO brings him back alive here, you've got the right and your family to kill me. Because I'm telling you, Matthew died in my hands. And that letter, I can't tell you anything on that, it's just not true. Because it's funny that he could ask for money. Otherwise, all the refugees in the struggle would have asked money from their parents to go and study, because SWAPO was through you and they went to study. I explained to her. So she just said that, I know how you feel and I will really leave you in peace. I believe he's dead. We'll just accept it. So that's how they accepted it.
For the thousands of Namibians who thronged the Independence Stadium, the truth about SWAPO's prisoners remained a secret. For the leadership, it was an embarrassment to be brushed under the carpet of Namibia's policy of national reconciliation, designed to bring black and white together.
Even now, when people are celebrating this independence, I'm not happy. As you know, I'm supposed to enjoying the freedom that I also took part in to liberate this country. You see these people who tortured you standing around with their guns and guarding around, you know, the atmosphere. And just to think of people that you have lost in this process.
As far as I know, reconciliation, it starts with respect. It's what you should give in the first instance. And the second thing is the truth you should start with. Now SWAPO hasn't got, this government, SWAPO government, hasn't got the truth with him. We've got the truth with us. I've got the truth with myself. They tortured me. They did wrongs to me. I did my rights to SWAPO. I also struggled. I also did my part. I played my role also in that struggle. They were beating me, torturing me, and they come back introducing a policy of national reconciliation. Against whom? Without forgiveness, you are coming to introduce a national reconciliation policy against me. You hurt me and you want me to accept your policy without an apology. Your policy is national reconciliation, but you want me to accept your policy without any forgiveness between us.
First, SWAPO has to reconcile with us. First, SWAPO has to reconcile with all the other whom she regards as enemies. And the playing field must be leveled. And honesty, truthfulness must be restored. It's only then that one would talk of reconciliation.
I forgave them for what they have done to us, what they have done to me. I forgave them because I don't have power. I cannot revenge for what they have done to me. Revenge against a government would not help me as an individual. and I have forgave them for what they have done to me. But what my feeling is concerned, my feeling for what they have done to me, my feeling for what they were doing to the people, I feel that's inhuman. It's barbarous. They were writing in this combat, these books, little books that they were handing out. The South African government is digging holes in which they are keeping people. And they are not different from what the South African government has done.
Sam Thomas passed away in 2002. For him, it is too late for SWAPO to apologize. Almost 2,000 people never returned from SWAPO's camps.
I am really availing myself to share this with each and every Namibian to at least work towards bringing SWAPO to book, towards working. I propose the people of Namibia must set up a commission of inquiry, a body that would deeply investigate SWAPO activities, a body that would get in touch with those affected Namibians who have gone through the horrific tortures through the hands of their own people. Something tangible must be done to redress the situation, and the criminals responsible, the culprits, must be brought to justice.
When I return, I'm going to beg someone to touch me very tenderly, and gradually put me at ease. I wish to feel again all I feels. When I return, I'm going to beg someone to touch me very tenderly.